the Selichot that we will begin to recite this coming Motzei Shabbat began as a service in the time of the Gaonim, somewhere in the 8th or 9th century. And a key focal point of all of those Selichot, of the services of forgiveness, are the words that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Moshe Rabbeinu following the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, Vayavor Hashem al panav vayikram, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu passed before Moshe and he called out, Hashem, Hashem, kel rachum v'chanun erech hapayim v'rav chesed v'yemet notzer chesed lalafim noseh avon v'fesha v'chata'ah v'nakem, giving him 13 attributes of mercy. It's not what Moshe Rabbeinu said, but rather it's what God himself taught Moshe to say. In fact, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah and Daf Yud Zayin Amud Bet teaches in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, said Rabbi Yochanan, Ilmale mikra katuv v'yefshar lomrom. If it wasn't explicitly written in the Torah, these words would be impossible for us to say. It would sound almost blasphemous. Milamed nitatef HaKadosh Baruch Hu kishliach tzibur v'erelo l'Moshe seder tfilam. But we learn that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, wrapped himself up in a talit just like a shliach tzibur and showed Moshe Rabbeinu how to say these tefillot. Amar lo kol zman sheYisrael chotin ya'asu lifanai keseder hazeh v'ani mochel lahem. And he said to them that whenever the Jewish people sin, just say these words of the Yud Gimel Midot, and I will forgive them. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda, Brit Krutal Yud Gimel Midot she'enan chozrot rekam. There was a covenant made regarding these 13 midot, that they will not return empty-handed, shenemar hine anochi koret brit, because as it stated, behold, I've made a covenant. God makes this promise to us. And interestingly, we remind HaKadosh Baruch Hu of that promise each time before we recite the Yud Gimel Midot in two different formulas. The very first time in Selichot that we're going to say the Yud Gimel Midot, we introduce it with the Kel Erech Hapayim Ata, God, you are a God who is slow to anger. And we say the final words, B'tachanun v'tfilah panecha nikadem kodata lanav mikedem. We come before you with plea and with prayer as you, in ancient times, made known to the one who was the Anav, the humble one, meaning Moshe Rabbeinu. We refer to that event. And yet, every other time on every introduction, past the first time in Selichot that we'll recite each day, the Yud Gimel Midot, we become more direct with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we introduce it with the Kel Melech Yoshev al Kisei Rachamim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sits on his heavenly throne of compassion, of Rachamim, Midnahed B'Chasidut, who behaves, conducts himself with loving kindness, Mochel Avonot Amo, forgives the sins of his people. And then we continue a little later when we say, Kel, Horeita lanu lomar shlosh esrei. God, it's you who taught us to say these Yud Gimel Midot, uschar lanu hayom b'rit shlosh esrei. And we tell to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, remember today that covenant, the promise you made, Kodata lanav mikedem kamoshe katuv, as you told the humble one in ancient times, as it is written, Vayered Hashem be'anan, etc. The Yud Gimel Midot is the formula for us to be able to reach the real slicha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the promise he gave us. And yet for us to be sincere, we need the rest of the slichot. We need the poetry that brings us to a recognition of how we can be better. That's what slichot is all about.